evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City Council meeting of Tuesday, May 13th at our new headquarters at Chamber Hall. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, before we go to public comment, I would like to have some moments of silence for two community members that have passed away since we last met. Ed Johnson and Marilyn Rupert. So if everyone could join me in a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so first we'll have public comment in our new facility. That is the podium. And so you'll come up with, give your mailing address and name. And same rules apply down here, 3 minutes and kind and respectful, please. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment? Richard?
Lottie, Field Box 1382 for each. First, I want to thank you for your time, effort, and service to our city. I may not always agree with you or your decisions, but I respect and appreciate the time you put into serving the community. Our subjects are building official. I want to remind you that the amount of money we continue to accumulate in the building official fund that cannot be spent on anything other than building official duties. We need to figure out a way to legally reduce the fund balance. I'm bringing this up because I expect it to be on tonight's agenda. It wasn't, so I'm just going to remind you. Water reservoir bid. I'm concerned about the water in the reservoir bid exceeding the engineer's estimate by $2 million. The questions are, what impact will this have on remaining water projects that have not been bid? What impact will it have on our finance? And what impact will it have on our water rates? The fee schedule that's on the agenda tonight.
Could you
Please keep in mind.
Wait a sec, hold up. I can't hear you very well.
Oh.
Could you maybe hold your paper up or something? You're looking down and I just can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
I'm having the same issue.
Huh?
I'm having the same issue.
Yeah.
The fee schedule. Please keep in mind that the budget committee may suggest modifications to the fee schedule that's in your agenda. And cows, this is for Andrew. What can we expect with the investment cows? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, people online are having trouble hearing as well.
Pardon?
People online are having difficulty hearing as well.
Okay, thank you. Hearing us or hearing the.
No, just a little closer to the microphone. Okay. First of all, thank you for letting me speak. I have 5 points I'm asking you to consider and hopefully respond to. Number one, there has been frequent reference during campaigning on the two competing measures. One that continues to question the why. Should our Cannon Beach citizens believe they have the right to interfere with council's large budget projects? It is their decision. The councilors were voted in and they should govern. I'm asking you to consider that democracies are democracies due to checks and balances. Democracy have one or two primary leaders. We have a president and a vice president with a check and balance of 2 houses of Congress and federal courts. Our states have a governor, legislatures, and state courts. Cities have councils, but their checks and balances are their voters. There are numerous other examples of this democratic balancing of traditions that is at the core of not allowing one person or one group to act unencumbered from the citizens they are charged with representing through checks and balances. Checks and balances stop autocratic governing. My point, checks and balances, it is the voters' responsibility. 2, there have been fierce examples of how Measure 235 would hinder projects. One that's been the most consistently presented is being unable to get grants. Rather than a point, the question. Have you applied for grants for the police and city hall structures? And Did you also apply for a grant or grants with the school? Have you applied and received the city infrastructure building grant that the state of Oregon provides with 2% interest during building state projects? When the city manager was hired and began work in the early 2018, the one project stressed during the vetting of all the campuses was to build a city hall and police station. That was 7 years ago, and I'm wondering if there are any grants in place. If not, it is not due to a vote, a holdup by a citizen vote that kept from the city from searching and receiving grants. That is my point. Grants applied for, please let me know. I have become curious about the many building projects that are happening in Tillamook and Clatsop County, and have stopped to photograph and ask questions of the tradespeople working on these multiple projects. In all these projects, local architects and building tradesmen from within the coastal areas are doing the projects. They are also building for much less per square foot than those projects. My point here is, why are we not using local people and keeping those dollars within our communities and supporting our local tradespeople and our neighbors? 4, why are we building such large facilities? As one contractor said to me when I was asking about his project, are you guys really building that big city hall in your small town? Is it going to be the Taj Mahal of Cannon Beach? I too asked, why are such large structures for a town of 1,500? And throw in also my questions on why are we taking down 24 of the trees? And finally, the last point is not a question, but a reminder to the council. Please remember that about 2 years ago, the residents passed the fire levy. It was a vote that upped our property taxes, and we still passed it. The fire chief of our rural fire district did over a dozen community events explaining the needs, uses, ages, and conditions of equipment. Mark sold the project, and we saw the need and voted for it. We live here. If an event of damage or destruction happens, we would stand alongside all of our neighbors, looking for emergency relief, a water system that can come back online, repair infrastructure that is aging or damaged. Our large projects that meet community needs, there will always be support because we all live here and we're not some part-timers. We vote here. We support multiple city activities, support our environment, and fight to keep our beautiful village not a mega second home capital. We do that along with the expectations of the people we elect to do the hard and detailed work in their council positions with full transparency, sustainable, moderate fiscal responsibility, costs, and design. Just like we support the fire department that serves us well. We are your constituents, and you represent me and us and all who call this home. We are your neighbors. We are not divisive. We are just asking for a vote for a check and balance. And I want to thank you for the time and all the energies you do put in. And we respect your work and your integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, do we have a report on whether that's better?
No.
No report, or it's not better?
Council does very well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience wish to make public comment? Hi.
Try to speak up so hopefully I heard that this room is not great. Clara Strove, PO Box 88. I want to speak about the division in our community and some of the troubling actions and behaviors I have seen over the past year. I have great respect for public office. I believe that it is a great honor to be elected to represent your community. To me, the key word there is represent. While each of you were elected in part because of your views and personal histories, you were also elected to govern this town in a way that best matches the needs and wants of the people. Sometimes that will not align with your personal views, but that is the job. Unfortunately, that is not the kind of leadership we have been seeing recently. One person in town recently said to me, it's their way or the highway, and once you are on that highway, you will always be the enemy. Throughout this election, the term divisive has been used a lot, and I agree. The last 2 elections have created unnecessary division here. One instance of offensive that really stands out to me. During a meeting, this council discussed whether or not to pull your competing ballot measure 4-236. This was a suggestion from Councillor Kerr, who discussed that having two measures could be very confusing to voters. I think we can all agree on that. Councillor Kerr then asked Councillor Ostrander and Hammond how they would feel about keeping or removing the competing measure. They agreed with her that it could be confusing and that they would like to see it removed. Instead of accepting their support, she called them both saboteurs and rescinded her suggestion to remove 4-236. That sounds pretty divisive to me. It also shows the majority of this council was fine with creating more confusion around this election than was necessary. Since then, supporters of 4-236 and two councillors have engaged in tactics that mislead and frighten voters. For example, Hayes recently posted false statements about the scope of 4-235, claiming that all or every infrastructure project would be required a vote. Kerr has denigrated fellow city council members and voters in emails. And a supporter referred to Cannon Beach voters as the uneducated masses and implied that they would be unable to make the right choice if allowed to vote. Some voters have been told that the threshold for a vote under 4-235 would be $5,000, not 6.5 million. And on a personal level, I have become a target for this group because I publicly support 4-235. Some of this has been the equivalent of high school bullying behavior, and some actions have been very clearly an attempt to silence me. Someone contacted my supervisor, for lack of a better term, because they didn't like that I was talking to voters on this topic. Their attempt to stop me from speaking my mind and participating in our democratic system didn't work, and it won't work. Unfortunately, others in our community and your constituents have been silenced. While out talking to voters, I heard from a disturbing amount of people who feared speaking to this council if their views differed. They fear that their businesses will be affected, they won't be able to get grants or permits, that they will be socially punished by certain people in town, and other major concerns. I wish I could say I was surprised to hear this, but after seeing the way that this group in particular treats opposing views for the past year, it sounds accurate to me. This is the division in our community, and it starts right here, where some can speak and others face retaliation if they do. I know I've taken a lot of time, but I'll end with a quote from JFK. We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, or competitive values. We're a nation that is afraid to lead its people, afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehoods in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. And that's what I'm seeing happen here. An attempt to silence people because you're afraid of what they might say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Steve?
I'm representing signatories on petitions, about 7 pages of petitions this evening, so I'd like to have my time extended, but not 3 minutes per signator. That would take over an hour or 2 hours, but just
Yeah, I won't go for that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
just looking for about 15 minutes, if that's all right.
What is the topic?
Topic is the same one I've been here on since October 2022, and that's the fire pits at the short-term rentals.
Okay. Would you be willing to do that one that's on our agenda? Because it's going to be
Is it going to be on the agenda?
June 12th.
12th?
June 12th.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay, and then if you could cut it down a little bit. Not really.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you very much.
thank you.
Write something out, I said.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
To have it included in our packet.
I watched the April 8th meeting, and it was fairly clear to me that not everybody read the comments that were submitted ahead of time. Because of the discussion that ensued, it was about the topics I discussed and rationale behind it and
Okay.
some suggestions for moving forward, but they weren't even acknowledged.
Okay, so yes, so if you could get something in the packet for the meeting.
Yeah, in writing and speak.
Right. That would be. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom that would like to make public comment?
Randy Moore.
Okay, Randy?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. I can.
Randy Neal, P.O. Box 1092. The first topic is dark sky and the streetlight plan. I followed the discussion about streetlights and dark sky, and I realized that this plan is really only adding light and the wrong kind of light. If LEDs are going to make the things brighter, let's at least have fewer. Let's dim them, shield them, or use timers. Let's reduce some number of the streetlights, use the shields that we will have available. Hopefully we will have controls that we can put in place, timers, motion, etc. But we need action before Pacific Power arrives with their trucks. I sent council a package of my thoughts and night photos of our town. The photos are telling, both good and bad. I hope dark sky isn't just a slogan. The city should really be the leader in darkening our sky. It would be disingenuous for the city to draft stricter lighting ordinances on residents and businesses, while at the same time making our skies even brighter with these new LEDs. Let's act. P.S. I'd like a seat on the Dark Sky Committee, and I'd like to know who I should talk to about doing that. Second topic is corrections and retractions. Lolly Champlin highlighted a falsehood in the April Community Bulletin. It said citizens drafted the ballot measure wording. She said all the wording was drafted by the city and the city attorney. The city manager soon made a special council announcement, said the newsletter was accurate. Lolly was wrong. They'd been very careful in selecting the wording. He finished by saying the city would clarify this position again in the May Bulletin. But however, the May Bulletin posted a correction. So what changed that firmly stated earlier position? I hope the city manager will now make an appropriate verbal apology to Lolly. He also said the article was factual and fair. But to note, the wording supporting the city's position was actually 50% longer, and it generously used positioning statements and hypotheses not mentioned in the ballot materials, things like costs, delays, impacts to departments, election costs, etc. The third topic is budget time. It's time to ask for money. One big ask is always the contingency fund. It's $2 million this year. Rarely used, this budget item has accumulated upwards of $15 million in cash sitting idle. Tonight, the city is asking to approve the building fee schedule. Fees that have already accumulated $800,000, and they are unable to be used by the city for any pressing issues. The water resiliency, all 6 phases, are in the budget again. This is the 3rd year in a row that these items repeat the same exact phrases, the same exact details, the same exact dollar amounts. So I ask, who says there's no time for a vote? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything?
We have Anita Weaver.
Okay, go ahead, Anita.
Hi, Anita Duber, P.O. Box 694, Cannon Beach. And I just wanted to make a comment regarding the First Street Bridge. That's been described as the main evacuation route for town. And just hoping that there's also some discussion regarding 2nd Street as an additional emergency exit for the downtown area, Sunset Boulevard for Midtown, Warren Way for Tolovana, and then Westway down by the new police station as this grand scheme of emergency evacuation becomes discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? And again, anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have consideration of the minutes for March and April. Are there any revisions? Okay.
I'm looking at April 8th. Page 2 of 4. I believe it is, and it has to do with yard debris burning and recreational burning. And do not believe that what I said is represented in these minutes, so I've written out what I think I said, and I went back and listened to the recording to make sure that I was accurately representing what I said. And what I said, I try to put it in a synopsis. Kerr stated that the statement by the fire chief was not one that relied on fire expertise, but rather an opinion of what might occur. She said that she was astounded that the health and safety of local residents would be secondary to the recreational desires of short-term rentals. She stated that she had a copy of a petition signed by residents requesting an end to recreational fires, particularly in one neighborhood. She pointed out that one of the counselors had even signed that petition.
Okay, if you'd like me to add that in, can I
Yeah.
have a copy of that?
Yeah, I will write it out again, so you two might correct for
Okay,
me.
no problem. I will, when we do the motion, we'll just say as amended for the April 20.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, anyone else? Have any revisions?
There was only one little thing that I saw, and that was April 1st, page 5 of 7, it was dropped in pen and canon.
There was a what?
About, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, anything else?
I'll move to approve the minutes of March and April as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So next we're going to the proclamations, and our first one is Proclamation 2507, Emergency Medical Services Week. And people, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councilors. This is for consideration of Proclamation 25-07, Emergency Medical Services Week, May 18th to the 24th of 2025. Background, half a century ago, a presidential proclamation called on the nation to support efforts to improve emergency medical care across the country. It also established the first National EMS Week, a tradition we proudly continue today. Much has changed since 1974, yet there's still much we can learn from those trailblazing clinicians who helped EMS evolve into the sophisticated branch of medicine it is today. Their dedication, commitment, and sacrifice inspire us to take bold steps of our own to continue to seek out ways to better serve our patients and our communities. The 51st anniversary of EMS Week theme is We Care for Everyone. As EMS professionals, we care for everyone. Our dedication and life-saving skills are put to the test every day. We're called to care in big cities and small towns and private homes, businesses, schools, and on our nation's roadways. Whether it's saving a young victim of a motor vehicle crash, helping an elderly patient who's forgotten to take her medication, stabilizing a construction worker experiencing chest pain on the job site, or treating an overdose on the city street, we're trained and ready to deliver a range of medical interventions and support because we care for everyone. Our roles and responsibilities are growing and changing, and we're rising to the challenge. From community paramedicine to preventative health care, we're tasked with providing next level patient navigation and care in new surroundings using new technology. We're there for our community whenever and wherever they need us because we care for everyone. Representatives from emergency medical services are asking that cities across the country, including the city of Cannon Beach, adopt a proclamation to designate the week of May 18th to the 24th, 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week. And staff recommends that the council adopt the proclamation.
Cool. I'd like to move to adopt Proclamation 2507 for Emergency Medical Services Week.
I second it.
Okay, any further?
Counselor Ostrander.
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Council President Kirk.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Or, okay. You okay if we don't read the proclamation?
That is
Take a
fine.
little bit of time, but thank you very much for everything. Okay, next we have Public Works Week.
Since 1960, the American Public Works Association has sponsored National Public Works Week. Across North America, the more than 30,000 members in the US and Canada use this week to energize and educate the public on the importance of public works to their daily lives, planning, building, managing, and operating at the heart of their local communities to improve everyday quality of life. This year's NPWW theme is people, purpose, and presence. The city of Cannon Beach would like to acknowledge its Public Works Department for the hard work and dedication given during any hour of any day when needed to support our city. Staff recommends that council adopt the proclamation.
I move to adopt proclamation 2508 National Public Works Week.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please, Jen.
Counselor Hannon.
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Council President Kirk.
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys for what you do.
Thank you.
Any hour of any day. Okay, so next we have our action and discussion items, and first on the agenda is the First Street Bridge evaluation options.
Thank you. In 2024, the city was awarded a $481,656 grant to pursue a complete evaluation of the First Street Bridge for either seismic retrofit or a complete rebuild if necessary. The First Street Bridge is the main evacuation point for the north end of Cannon Beach in the event we were to receive warning of a distant tsunami and need to take steps to evacuate the town. Overall, the bridge is in good condition based on the annual ODOT inspections that occur each year. However, the bridge does not meet the current seismic standards. Civil West and KPFF Engineering have worked together with the geotechnical experts to conduct the evaluation and provide options for the city to consider. We have representatives from both teams here tonight to present the evaluation findings and the proposed options to council. City staff and the engineering partners have selected a preferred option. However, we would like to get council's input to ensure we are progressing in the desired direction before we proceed to the next steps of engineering the proposed design and submitting for permits through the normal city approval process. Stephen, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, council members. My name is Stephen Whittington. I'm a structural engineer with KPFF. Work out of Portland, and I've been doing this for about 21 years.
And we have our Shannon online from Civil West, and I think Tim is on as well. Together they've collaborated in this process evaluation. I've asked Stephen to come and take you through the same process that the team went through with our team evaluating the options and looking through that process. So you're going to hear the same options that we looked at and where we ultimately made our decision that we designed. Go ahead, Stephen.
Okay, great. And please jump in if there's some terms I use that maybe you are not familiar with or not clear. Definitely want to make sure I answer all of your questions. So let's see, Trevor, you're going to start on our slide. Okay, so just a real quick background. You know, the existing bridge is seismically vulnerable for, you know, a code level earthquake that would be expected for this region. And when I mean it's vulnerable, meaning it's likely to fail and collapse. You wouldn't be able to use it. And so there were some retrofits a number of years ago that helped. It was patched, but it did not go all the way down, like the substructure and the foundation deficiencies. Okay, so what we were tasked with through Karen and the rest of the team was to look at ways to retrofit the bridge so that it would sustain a code level seismic earthquake, like the Cascadia subduction zone that we all know so much about. So that's what we're going to talk through today. One point to note, these are not intended or designed right now to be tsunami resistant. Okay. That's a clear point. Okay, so the first option of let me start here. We looked at a number of different options. And, again, the basic is the essential requirement, they all need to be, no collapse for the event so that people can get across that, okay? And, a couple of the first ones we looked at, we threw out because they didn't meet that requirement. So we're doing this conceptual level design. So the three retrofit options that we're gonna look at today meet that requirement. And, the first one, I can just maybe explain it a little bit. It isolates, it does the retrofits at the ends of the bridge. So there's very little work down below the bridge. And that's one of the key factors of this one. It does the work with, it sort of anchors the bridge at one end with what we call a dead man. It's like a big buried anchor in the approach at one end. And then we tie that to the bridge to support it longitudinally. So it serves as an anchor. Another key aspect of this one, to have this bridge be knitted together so it would work as a unit. Key thing is the deck we'd have to have a concrete deck cast on top of the precast beams that are out there. So that would involve taking off your existing deck and casting a new, the asphalt overlay and the sidewalks, getting down to the top of the beams that are out there and casting a new deck on there that would knit the whole thing together. Okay. Common to all these retrofits are deep, like ground improvements at each approach. You've got soils that are susceptible to action and lateral spreading during the shaking of the ground motion. So that's common to all these, and that's shown in the hatched area, sort of orange. Okay, so that's what we were calling option 3. We move to option 4. Next slide, please. Okay, option 4 takes a different tack. Go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay. Understanding how, how much work on the deck can be an inconvenience to the public and the people that live and work around here. This option took a different approach. And so we looked at ways to not have to strengthen the deck. So what we ended up doing was coming up with a scheme that would strengthen each of the individual lines of piles, what we call vents. That's the way where the columns are supporting the beams. And so that's what you're seeing in blue there, which would include driving new steel piles outside the footprint of the bridge, and then encasing your existing timber pile cap with a new reinforced concrete beam that would span between the new piles outside of the bridge deck. So a couple of key features here are that, again, you don't need to refurbish the deck. And another, I think a real nice part about this is the steel, we would design the steel piles and the concrete beam such they could be an alternative vertical support for the bridge in case over time your timber piles, start to fail, rot, and the things we face out here on the coast. So that gives you a backup, another system to support the bridge in case the timber piles would fail. That's a real benefit of this one.
And Stephen, just to clarify, when you're talking about the difficulty in the deck work, that means that we couldn't leave one lane of the bridge open for use during that time.
It would be difficult.
Yeah. Okay.
Not impossible, but it would probably run the costs up. Right.
Okay.
Let's see, so even though there's work underneath the bridge, we were careful to make sure that it didn't provide a greater impedance to the creek hydraulically than what you have out there right now. So it wouldn't change the flooding, the hydraulics of your conditions out there.
So the new steel driven piles are just lined up in line with the current timber piles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Move to the next one. Okay, and then the fifth one, we call it seismic retrofit, 5, is a combination of 3 and 4. And it still strengthens each one of the individual bits, like I was just talking about with the driven steel piles and the concrete encased pile cap. But I think there was some interest to understand what it would cost to improve the deck and stitch it together with the concrete overlay, like the first one did. So this one is the highest cost of the 3, because you're adding the cost of removing the top of the deck, all that work, working with traffic, and then putting in a new deck and your sidewalks and barrier again. So that's why, it's more than you need for seismically retrofit it, but if you wanted to put it out there in case that was a value to you to have a replaced deck. Okay, so those are the 3 retrofits. Any questions on those so far?
Yeah, which one is, okay, I mean, of the 3 of them, which is the one that would provide the most security?
We would really design them to be equal. I mean, when you say security, are you talking about beyond seismic or just seismic?
Size, well, I guess you can't, I mean, you can't provide security for a tsunami, because it washes over the bridge, it washes over the bridge.
Right. So we're just talking about, if you're talking about like we think in terms of maybe performance of how it would, what would happen after the earthquake. They would all be, we would design them so that they would perform similarly, so that they would collapse, and pedestrians or light vehicles and things could still get across the bridge.
Vehicle or foot traffic.
Or, pedestrian, bikes, all that. And were there any other questions? We're still presenting a couple of the other things here.
So concept 5 is, you said it's a combination of the 2, but it doesn't include the dead man at the one end.
That's right. Yes, yeah, so it's cherry picking. It's really more 4 with the deck overlay.
With the new deck.
Yes, sir.
And the deck overlay would cause the bridge to be closed.
It would be very impactful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a chance the bridge is gonna be closed at some point while this is being done anyway, correct?
The other options allow us to keep a lane of traffic open where others do not. It'd be difficult to do.
And how about, how much time it takes to do these different projects?
Well, I would consider this probably a full season, construction season. I mean, but even I would say in the neighborhood of, I haven't done a full schedule on this. But I would say in the neighborhood, just once the construction starts, they have all the materials and everything, it's probably 4 to 6 or 7 months.
And they're all equal in timeframe?
Well, I would say the ones that have the deck work would probably be longer. So the one, when I was saying 4 to 7 months, that's probably option 4, retrofit 4.
And that's just the construction itself, and we have to get all the permits and all the stuff that comes prior to that, but the actual construction where the bridge would be interfered with daily use would be in 7 months, so to speak.
They were up at sunset when they redid that on highway for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
you'd have to have a traffic plan, of how we were gonna bring on traffic and things during that time.
And the other point to know when we're talking about schedule is that, the time you can work in the water is restricted. So, it's limited to times when it's less impactful to the aquatic species, So, I'm not quite sure the in-water work window here, but I expect it's probably about 3 months or so, is what is the most important. So it would be, as the design advanced, we would want to look for ways to try to make that buildable in a single season for like getting the contractor out of the water. So the dragging the piles would be something that would be in the water. Doing the concrete cap could be done out of the water. It would set up false work, suspended things. So that would be kind of dialed in as design progressed.
Can it be done through the winter months, like late fall?
You know, it really can. That's the good thing. If you were doing earthwork, you know, they kind of avoid that, but actually it might work in your favor to have it go in an off season, because that's when the contractors are not as busy.
Must be cost advantage there.
Yes, yes. More competitive bids.
Which would be helpful for us if we didn't have the bridge closed, right? And
True. And so, we advanced those, we did a conceptual design for these three and progressed them to enough where we could do a conceptual cost estimate and price those. And then to compare those, we also looked at what does it mean if you replace the bridge? You know, you don't want to spend, well, you can spend out your money however you want, but one typically wants to, you know, a repair, not to approach the cost of repairing a bridge, because the bridge is already 60 years old. So its design life is at a certain different point. So we looked at a couple different types of bridges for replacement. Trevor, next slide, please.
We approached it similar to what we did with the water reservoir and the decision to try to retrofit the existing reservoir and the cost associated with that versus building a new reservoir. And we approached this in very much the same fashion.
Yes, so we kept the sort of deal apples to apples. We kept the bridge length and the width the same as what you have out there right now. And so this is just a precast concrete type of approach, the one that you'll see in a lot of places across Oregon. They'll just be precast, pre-stressed beams underneath the bridge deck, and then you'll have a concrete cast in place deck with barrier and sidewalks and all that. Just due to the curvature and everything, and efficiency for the structure, we proposed a two-span structure, so there would be a bend or pier in the middle. So very conventional bridge construction. Let's see, all these options, again, we maintain the freeboard over your base flood elevation. So again, we're not getting down into something like floodplain. Again, these would have ground improvements too. Okay, even though you're constructing new substructure and superstructure, you still have problems with your soils at the ends. Okay. Maybe next slide. This is just an idea of what it would look like in a section view of the bridge. Again, these are standard girders that they fabricate here in Oregon. I don't think anything particularly else noteworthy in this unless you have any questions. Okay, next slide, please. And we did a similar analysis and comparison using steel girders. You know, at the coast, steel is, you know, comes with issues, taking care of it, you know, ongoing maintenance burden. But we look at it just to see, you know, how the costs compare, give you an idea of what would, you know, look at it together. So same footprint for the bridge as we have for the precast concrete version. It's a little bit thinner. So it's a little bit further above your flood elevations, but still, both options would meet the minimum requirements for a design flood. Next slide, please. And that's again, just another typical section. All these girders are very typical construction. We look at really what will be hopefully very efficient, cost efficient, and long lasting, you know, bridge types. I guess we can look at the cost estimates now. Okay, if you go to the next slide, please. So this is a summary of the construction costs only. Okay, these do not include as Karen was saying a minute ago, soft costs like portion design, the permitting, construction administration, support from the city and so forth. But this gives you a comparison among the different options. And you can see that the seismic retrofit options 3, 4, and 5 are all considerably less than a replacement bridge structure, okay? With the concrete option, replacement option 1 being the lower of the 2. But you see them over $11 million. And so looking at all these characteristics, we settled as a group, we were recommending option number 4.
And Stephen, the life expectancy of the bridge, based on, choice of, retrofit versus a replacement, let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the retrofit is gonna give us, 15-year life expectancy versus a replacement giving us 50+ years, those are things that we discussed as well.
Okay, sure. A new bridge is typically designed for a design life of 75 years. But again, it comes with maintenance, right? A seismically retrofitted bridge with these types, the design life could approach, was it in the neighborhood of like 40, 50 years?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Close to 50.
Yes, and that can be, there are steps intentional steps you can take with design. You can, we can thicken the steel piles to take care of like the sacrificial loss of section due to, potential corrosion. We can coat the steel piles to protect them. Concrete, again, as long as it's maintained, like the encasement of the caps, that, as long as it's, it provides good coverage. The best thing around the coast is to have concrete with good cover over your reinforcing steel inside there, and that provides the protection from corrosion from the salt that's so severe, can be so severe here. So it's, you've still got some temporary elements, but the benefit of option 4 was you get this, you almost get this new substructure and foundation.
Right.
A lot of benefits there.
So that's where we ended up on option 4, and I just wanted to make sure, based on your input tonight, that proceeding in the direction that you think is the right way. I didn't want to spend any more funds or look at funding sources for us if we're not going that direction, all the funding sources, there's qualifiers, whether it's seismically retrofitted or brand new construction. So those are important factors. We want to know that decision before we start chasing anything relative to funding.
And how long, just curiosity question, how long would it take to, what's the difference in construction time for retro versus brand new bridge?
A bit. I would expect the retrofit to be a little shorter than a bridge, than a new bridge, obviously, especially since, you've got some, the deck, you're rebuilding for a new bridge. You've got the precast elements, which are helpful because those can be fabricated while you're doing other things, but long answer, shorter. The new bridge replacements would have a longer timeline, maybe 50% more time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking a little off the cuff on the schedule. These are just engineering judgments and past experience. We haven't done a detailed schedule on these, okay? So,
Yeah.
Well, and a new bridge would require demo of the existing bridge.
Yeah.
No bridge for some period of time.
that's right.
Unless we decide to put it in a different footprint. It's not something that we explored, with the experts that came to the table originally.
In a footprint, it would have to be a significantly longer bridge, I would think, or significantly more.
We get that question a lot, trying to maintain traffic. That's the key, is like you could conceivably probably do it. You'd have to do it in like halves, or if you could realign what you had out there, you could maybe push traffic temporarily one way or the other. it's, you know, it's gonna lengthen the time it takes to do it. And it's gonna increase your costs, but benefits are you keep some traffic through there.
Yeah, well, and with the north entrance arranged in the way that it is, you can't get to the north side of town while coming from the south on Highway 101 without crossing that bridge. You have to go and turn around somewhere and be coming southbound on 101 or enter at Sunset and come through across the bridge. So it would effectively cut off all access to
Right.
essentially half the town up there. Without having access across the bridge.
So concept 4 does not remove the deck.
Concept 4 is where the team and the both consulting, engineering firms felt like that was the best option.
It doesn't remove the deck.
Yeah.
So you're able to have at least some traffic for a longer portion. Is there some portion that it would require to be closed completely, or?
I mean, I would imagine a contractor could ask you, I really, you know, they're gonna maybe want a short period, maybe here or there, but I'm talking like a weekend, I know weekends are good, but just short periods. You could spell out in the specifications, you shall not. And contractors are innovative and we can work with design and figure out a way to do it.
Yep. We talked about hours of work, if, we were able to be flexible with them on the times that they would need to restrict traffic. Maybe we allow them to work outside the normal construction window that Canopy tolerates. And that's the trade-off. So those are all things that we would want to explore at the next level of engineering. And be able to keep you apprised of those things and help us make those decisions on which way we want to go with that. The medical, emergency response, access is the thing that we thought about first and foremost, more so than visitors and, you know, our residents getting around. We all make sacrifices, but when it comes to a medical call, there's just no allegiance there, you know, no grace. So we talked about that during our process.
So
Can everybody hear me? Sorry to jump in. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things there too that you've already discussed of, like, speaking of the criticality of the any emergency routes, and also the discussion of like having entrances to town would have be entering through the south. That's the criticality of this project too. Just highlighting why it would be a critical project to really think through the evacuation route. Just noting that.
Thank you, Shannon.
So of the 481 thousand that was awarded the grant, how far into that have we spent with the level of engineering that's been looked at? Or is there still, is the intention of that grant to cover full engineering down to shovel ready?
Yes. The goal is to speak to a shovel-ready project so that we can pursue additional funding to actually construct the project. From here, we also we would be bringing on environmental and archaeological consultants to ensure that we're determining the correct permitting. Yep. Sorry, Karen, I'm jumping over you.
Sorry, Shannon. Do you know how far we are into our budget right now? I don't have my book with me.
I can pull that up.
But the intention is that that 481 will cover all the way through to shovel ready. So we've only spent.
Yeah, so we
X
should
portion of
be,
it so far.
should we be awarded funding, we should be able to put documents out to bid for the project, and that's the goal here.
Okay.
So that's why it's really important that we're using our dollars wisely, and I know that we're going in the direction we want, because making changes after the fact is costly. And it still goes through the normal city process. But like the previous Taliban vehicle ramp that I brought to you guys, that's kind of the consensus I'm looking for before we keep moving.
And I can provide an update. To date, through our last reimbursement, which was submitted in April, we submit quarterly. The project has expensed about $130,000. So there's about $309,000 remaining on this project, but that is through March 31st.
Thank you, Shannon.
Cool, thank you.
You know what we'd be expecting on soft costs? For option 4. You looked at that at all, or is there a formula, or?
We really haven't right now. I think it's a little early to answer that. I mean, you guys may be able to give a rough idea just based on your experience with this, but I haven't asked the team to do an analysis on that yet.
Shannon,
Shannon, Steve.
can you speak to the permitting effort?
We have not determined anything beyond that. I think we were waiting for guidance on which concept to move forward with before proceeding with any additional analysis.
I don't know what environmental reviews we need to do, being in the water and whatnot, so that's just, we're just not there yet. If I can get that information and bring it back to you. I mean, it's things that we're gonna have to know when we pursue funding. Because those costs would be covered.
Sounds like there's still a lot of back work to go, and I understand that you're looking for guidance, so maybe this wouldn't start until we had substantial completion of City Hall to help ease up some of the traffic burden.
For sure.
It's gonna be, so it's gonna take us
Oh, yeah,
a good deal of time to get to.
yeah.
We should
The
start.
PD should be well on its way to complete before this would be ready to go off to bid everything. We have to lock down the funding. Yeah, first and foremost, before the bid can even go out.
So is everyone okay with option 4 for direction?
Support staff choice.
Yeah.
I support that, yeah, I want the least impact possible.
Yep.
Traffic for that. And it's also the least expensive.
Yeah, I'll have to wait the school parking lot open, so people can park and walk across when.
Yeah.
Kayaks.
Swim across.
Okay.
Kayak, that's it.
Perfect.
That's how I'm
Okay,
gonna
any
manage it.
further
Janice,
questions?
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. Both of you.
Question.
Thank you. Thank you. Karen Lawyer.
Which one?
Ready?
Yeah. Let's get it
Let's stay up here. Go next.
We didn't budget any transition time.
All right, let me see where I am. All right. Phase 3 of the reservoir replacement of the water resiliency project is funded by a favorable term loan from Business Oregon, with consulting engineering firm Windsor Engineers, who estimated the project's value at $3.4 million. The city advertised an invitation to bid on the construction element of this phase beginning March 25th of 2025. The city received 3 bids on May 7th, 2025. The apparent low bidder is Emery and Sons Construction Group LLC from Salem, Oregon, with a bid amount of $5.371000 in accordance with our city ordinance. The city council must authorize contract awards for construction projects of this dollar amount. It is expected that the project will be completed by May 15th of 2026. Staff recommends the council authorize staff to award the contract to Emery and Sons Construction Group LLC.
So I have a question about the difference in the estimate and what the actual bid came in and what the loan was that we got, how that difference is being made up of 1.8 million.
Business Oregon actually awarded us additional dollars to that loan because the time in which we originally had the engineering estimate and pursued the Business Oregon loan was years apart from when we got ready to engineer and construct the project. And so we went back to Business Oregon, showed them the cost change in that amount of time and requested more money, and they granted us $2 million additional dollars.
And the
So
favorable
we have
term,
enough within our Oregon loan to be able to cover this.
Okay.
What are the terms of the favorable term loan?
Stayed with the same terms.
1%.
They've been very pleased so far with how we have handled our loans and our projects as far as how we've spent, the timelines and milestones that we have met. So we did not have to go back in front of the board to ask for that money. They gave us the money.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Have you had a chance to review the construction firm doing your?
I did some sleuthing because
Yes.
I was not familiar with them. And I received some stakeholder input from another city that they've done 2 reservoirs for. And I was very pleased with that. The engineering firm that we've dealt with is familiar with them on projects that they have done. One of the engineers that's on the Windsor team worked for another engineering firm prior and gave us input of his dealings with them in his prior engineering position. So we got some really good feedback. I felt much more comfortable.
Good.
And this is what they do, and this is their world, is building reservoirs, so.
Can you just give us a summary of what this replacement accomplishes for us?
It gets you a new reservoir, concrete, seismically sound, adjacent to where the existing reservoir sits. All the lines that we're replacing now will be connected to that new reservoir. It will also continue on down to the Public Works yard where we will have a fill station that we can fill a mobile trailer and get water up to neighborhoods. So everything that we're doing in all these phases is all going to be connected together. This particular piece of it is specifically the tank build. I'm looking forward to watching that. We did do a field visit and we watched a tank being constructed by another tank builder that is exactly like what we're going to have here. And it was amazing. So the last leg of course, is the backbone that will connect all this with our existing infrastructure.
And what was the total size of the new reservoir?
Same size we have now. We did not increase it.
Okay, and the existing one you said is gonna go adjacent to it, is the old one going to be demoed? Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I will move to approve the contract award to Emery and Son Construction Group LLC for the Water Resiliency Phase 3 Reservoir Replacement Project.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
Do we know what the contract, do they have a contract yet?
I'm sorry.
Do they have a contract yet?
Well, we couldn't give them one till after this meeting.
Right, okay.
But we have them teed up and ready to go. We'll issue the notice of award after this meeting tonight.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, roll call please. Jens?
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrowski,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Thank you. Good job.
I'll come. And I'm still here.
Don't move.
Thank you, Jen, for teeing me up all at the same time. And we should have Ashley online with us, Trevor, for this one. I'll tee it up with the staff report. This is relative to our on-call excavation contract increase request. Per the city's current procurement rules and model rules, the city may increase a construction contracts amount without completing a new procurement, so long as the increase does not exceed $125,000 and the council approves of the increase. The city currently contracts with Thorson Excavation for minor on-call excavation services that are needed throughout the city on a case-by-case basis. The contract for the current fiscal year includes a not-to-exceed amount of $100,000. Public Works team is currently experiencing resource limitations due to medical reasons and needs to utilize our excavation contractor, Thorson Excavation, more than previously planned. An adjustment of $25,000 to the not to exceed amount in Thorson Excavation's contract will provide the support needed to complete this budget year's demands. We recommend that you authorize an amendment to the Thorson Excavation contract to increase the not to exceed amount from $100,000 to $125,000.
Is this contract that it's at some point we have to bid and Thorson?
Yes,
Correct.
these were publicly bid. We have two on-call excavation contractors, Thorson and McEwen. And so they're the two that we opted to put two of them on contract. So we don't have all of our eggs in one basket. We did the same thing with electrical contractors. So this is the same as that.
Okay, how often do they have to rebid for the work?
Right now, our current contract, I believe, lets us renew it without going back out to public bid 3 times.
Okay.
Ashley and I talked about that recently because our retirements have begun in Public Works. We just had a 43-year employee retire. And so that coupled with my light duty folks in Public Works has really put a strain on us. And so I talked to Ashley about the predicament that we're in and that we know we're gonna have other retirements coming our way. And that we might want to look at doing this differently because we can't be put in a situation where our work just stops. We don't have an excavation machine, so we're completely dependent on our on-call subs. And so Ashley and I are working together and we will be bringing you something that is more long-term on these key subcontractors that we would use in emergency situations when a real disaster occurs, as we have in the past, and not just this immediate situation. This handles the work that I have on the drawing board right now today for this budget year, but it doesn't address the more long-term need. So we will be coming back to you to discuss that. There's a variety of ways that you can do these contracts. They can be 5-10-year contracts. We never really felt that we needed something that long in the past. We're pretty used to that 3-year cycle. It's always good to feel the contractor to feel that they're giving us competitive prices, and we continue to put them out to public bid to make sure that we're getting competitive prices. But this has put a different spin on things.
How much is McGowan's contract?
I'm sorry,
How much is McGowan's contract?
both of them are 100,000.
100.
They're both identical, same with our electrical contractors.
So is this 2 $100,000 contracts? And it's an adjustment of
They
both
each have-
contracts to 125,000. So it's not a single alternating there.
No.
So you're asking for 2 contractors.
I'm asking for one
Oh,
for
okay.
tonight.
Okay.
We will be coming back with you later for a different proposal that Ashley will go over with you for more long-term.
Long-term, okay, but
So-
tonight is just one.
Yeah, tonight,
Well, it says Thorson and McEwen contracts. So is this a $50,000 ask or $25,000 ask
it's to increase the contract $25,000.
per each? So a total
Yeah.
of 50,000?
Yeah, sorry. $25,000 to the existing 100,000 contract for each of the
For each.
expiration
So
contracts.
it's a $50,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And you just want a recommendation, you know?
Yeah, I just want you to give us permission to go ahead and increase those contracts by $25,000 each.
And
to get us
I
through
recommend
this.
that you
this
authorize
budget.
an amendment to the Thorson excavation and McEwen construction contracts to increase the not to exceed amount from 100,000 to 125,000.
Is there a second?
Does that need a second? That's an actual motion, or are you just looking for
Motion.
consensus recommendation? It's a motion.
Yeah, that was, I just made.
I will second.
Further discussion.
Yeah, sorry, just one thing, I can spit it out quick enough. When do these contracts come up for renewal? Ish.
October.
So you'll be presenting.
Yeah, so that's why
Yeah.
Ashley and I talked about, since they're coming up in October, that would be the time to make the more significant adjustment. And for now, it's just to keep the jobs moving. I've already gotten a hopper.
One more question I guess from that, does that get you, the 25 does that get you to the beginning of July, or does that get you to October?
It should get us to October. Now barring any situation that comes up, especially if we have a water leak or a break of some sort that I couldn't have predicted, but what we have on the table right now, this will fulfill that.
And you did use some extra services from them when we did have some things happen.
From both of them, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are typical excavating contracts, and we do capital improvements. We'll get contractors that come to the table that are much further away. But the on-call, they have to respond within a certain length of time, and contractors that are further away can't fulfill that, so they don't typically bid on these types of.
So there was definitely been some extra
Yeah.
this year.
Okay, anything else?
We need to vote on it. Oh,
Roll call, please.
sorry.
Council President Burke.
Yes.
Councilor Ostrander.
Yes.
Councilor Hammond.
Yes.
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Karen.
Done. Thank you.
Okay, next we have the CALS warning system.
Hello, everybody.
You go by Andrew or Andy?
Either.
Either? You'll answer to anything?
Andy.
Okay.
All righty, good evening. This is for staff report for the coastal outside warning system, CALS IGA. The city of Cannon Beach and the Cannon Beach Rural Fire District have established an IGA for the coastal outside warning system, CALS. The Cannon Beach Rural Fire District has agreed to fund the installation and the maintenance cost of the 2 new sirens located in Arch Cape. And we recommend that council approve the IGA.
I think this is a question on the agreement.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just wondered, I think that, did you mean in section 9 of the agreement, 9.1, you refer to section 9, did you mean section 8? Where it says the agreement may be terminated for cause after the terminating entity has complied with the requirements of section 8. Isn't that what you mean? Not section 9?
Can you repeat that? Where are you reading?
Section 9, term and termination.
Okay.
9.1, this agreement may be terminated for cause after the terminating entity has complied with the requirements of, it says section 9, but I think you mean section 8.
I'll have to review that, and if we need to make a change to that.
Well,
Is section 8 default?
It's what she's getting at, I think, Andrew, it's just a typo.
Yeah, I just don't know if we should say section 8 or 9, I'll have to have, it'll have to be reviewed. To see if they need to make a correction on that one.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be 9.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same section, probably just a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then under the default on section 8, you give only 10 days for a cure and, you know, yeah, that's, is that standard or is it, I thought 30 days was sort of more standard for, you know, a cure for default, but so 10 seems awfully short. Or not standard anyway.
Okay, well, we'll look into that as well to make sure that it's standard protocol. It's kind
Has the fire department board approved?
yeah, this was sent over to Mark for review. Chief Reckman, and he has approved it. And so I'm not sure if the board has approved it or not, but he let me know that he had no issues with it.
Okay.
I think he's good that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he presented that to the board yet. But he has had this.
Perfect, Lisa, to answer your question, previous contract with the fire department is 10 days for that section.
Okay.
So that is the same.
That is standard for the. Okay, and then I have another question, and this is just a lack of understanding on my part, I guess. So the city is responsible, this seems to imply that the city is responsible for the system alerts, right?
Correct.
And so, and the city is, how is the city connected to the county and state emergency alert systems?
We're not.
In other words, do we have a backup or contingency for communication failures?
So we're not connected to a county, they don't have county or state in Oregon, they don't have outside warning systems. We have backup systems that we're currently using right now, which are electronic, which are, Everbridge and electronic means of notification. But the county, they only use Everbridge.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, they don't have any sort of outdoor warning systems like we have down here.
Do we have written procedures for operations yet?
On the sirens?
Uh-huh.
We don't have written procedures on how to operate them, but.
No, I mean for system alerts in general, within the city, since the city is responsible.
In terms of like activation and,
Just, yeah,
I mean, we don't,
any written procedures for how the system how, who can issue an alert and when and that kind of thing.
so I don't believe it's been written yet, but, the actual company who designs and manufactures these have operating procedures. But basically anybody that is a first responder, so anybody fire, anybody that is police, dispatch, myself, Karen, and important, like, the integral aspects of emergency management are gonna have the ability to activate the system.
Okay, I just think you'd want to have some, maybe, written procedures in place, just in case something, just to protect all of you, actually.
Yeah, well, and nobody can just access the system's gonna be at the fire department, the control station will be at the fire department, and it'll be at the new police station, so it's not gonna be like available to the public or per se you guys, anybody like that.
So how are the operations coordinated with the district?
The fire district?
The operations of the system?
Yeah.
So if somebody, like, let's say like I'm sleeping and there is a tsunami warning, a distant tsunami warning, and I'm not awake. Whoever's at the fire department, so just to be clear, we haven't trained to this yet, the system isn't operational, so. We haven't trained the fire department yet to do this, but if, like, let's say there is a, through dispatch. There is a, National Weather Service tsunami warning, whoever is at the fire department would initiate the tsunami. The warning.
Okay.
So will the city be writing an SOP or a standard operating procedure book for that, and will that be done before the system is operational?
Yes,
Okay, okay, good. I think that, does
That's
that
what I
help?
was asking,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, with any system, there's always operating procedures. It's just we have to create it and it's not operational.
I didn't need a manual, the thing works.
Yeah,
That's not gonna do
yeah,
anybody.
that's how you.
But, right, so that's where she was going with that. And as far as who is linked into the system, so it's NOAA. I mean, they're telling you when, there's a disaster, the National Weather Service.
National Weather Service, correct. Well, that's one aspect of it. They're not telling them. But the system has the capability where you can set it up to where within certain parameters of our local area, if the National Weather Service or NOAA issue the tsunami warning, it'll automatically turn the system on and activate it, yes. Yeah, so there's multiple ways that it can be activated, you know, whether it's somebody pushing a button, activating it remotely from like the web portal, or a system like National Weather Service.
So this contract is between the city and the fire department for the 2 towers. And they're going to reimburse the city for those?
Correct.
Okay. And then we're responsible for the other 6.
The other 4.
Oh,
There's 6 together.
Six total.
Yeah, four in Cannon Beach and then 2 down in Arch.
Okay.
And so, yeah, the Cannon Beach Rural Fire District is gonna fund the installation of the 2 new ones and then any maintenance costs over the years.
And when, I'm sorry, you may have said this already, but someone had asked it in the audience, so I just wanted to, when did you think it's going to be operational?
We were supposed to be testing it tomorrow. I was working on the system today with the contractor ATI. We ran into some hiccups with terrain and radios. So I'm waiting to hear back from the supervisors of the individual that was out today. So I'm hoping it'll be up and running fully before the end of this month. But I'll know more by the end of this week of what next to do.
How about the Arch Cape sirens?
Staying, the whole system.
Are they're installed?
Yep, yeah, so all the hardware and all the components are installed on every single post.
Okay.
And we were just waiting on, they had to configure things on their end. And then, yeah, the technician came out today and we've been actively working on trying to
So
get
the whole thing is gonna go live.
We were hoping to test it out tomorrow, and I was gonna send out a notification. But I waited on that just in case we ran into any hiccups, which we did, so things have been delayed a little bit, but ATI is actively working on a remedy for that, so.
So are we gonna get to hear the cow when you test it, or is it just?
It'll be the cow, it'll be a new and improved, it'll be a new and improved cow.
So is it not the old recording, it's on it anymore?
It will not be the old recording, yeah, because the old recording still said that the system was part of the Cannon Beach Rural Fire District. And so the fact that it's not part of the Cannon Beach Rural Fire District anymore, and it's a new system, we decided to come up with just a whole new system. It's basically just test. This is, and then it says a thing and there's cows moving, so.
But you're still hoping by the end of May.
Yes.
To be fully operational.
The fix should be pretty easy. It's just, you know, when can we get parts delivered and then you're gonna come back out and install them. So.
The only thing left remaining here, the only question is that section 9 termination.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a typo.
I think it's section 8.2. and
It should be section 8.
I'll check that, I should have looked when I looked at the other agreements. It should be section, because that's the other agreement I looked at fire, it does that section, so we can make that match. Okay.
Anybody ready to make a motion?
I move to approve the IGA with the Cannon Beach Rural Fire District for cooperation to provide the coastal outside warning system with the revision to section 9.1. This is section 8.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Oster,
Yes.
Counselor Henson,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes,
Council President Kirk,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, council.
I know you've had a lot of coffees.
So what is before you is a master fee schedule. And, what the purpose of tonight was not to approve the master fee schedule. What it is to approve the concept of the master fee schedule. You guys are okay with that, then we would bring it back for approval with the rates in the June meeting. So the intention of the master fee schedule is really taking all of our current fees, which are kind of all over the place in multiple resolutions, and putting it into one document. It's fairly typical to do so. What would normally be the process is we would come to you, well, it's always going to be 2 readings. The first reading would be like this, where I would come to you, it would be a red line version. And then it would show any changes, we would talk about it, and then we would move it for approval the following one. So that would be the change. In the current one, all of the rates are the same except for 2 groups. One is the SDCs. The SDCs that the council approved in April were incorrect. So that resolution was incorrect. The SDCs in the master fee schedule for you are what they should have been. So that is one change. And from a process standpoint, we have corrected it internally, and that error should not happen again. It was just, so those fees are kind of coming into the finance group. Those are not in the finance group, so we're doing that next year. The second group is the one that probably everybody's a little more interested in, are the utilities. So the utility rates that are inside of this master fee schedule currently are the rates that are from the utility rate study that was approved last year. So this is the new rate structure that is coming in 25, 26. So these are the new rates, and these are increases. They are an increase of 20% on the water side and 10.5% on the wastewater side. So these are the large increases that we are expecting over the next couple of years. So that kind of sums it up on what this document is intended to do. Again, as we kind of go, there are fees inside of code, there are fees inside of forms, there are, it's just kind of all over the place. So really the goal was to bring them into one place. And then we would show the changes every year, and then we would ask to approve it. So that's kind of the intention, and I'll leave it open for questions.
So for today, what you're looking for is approval of the concept.
Yes, are you okay?
This style of document.
Yes, are you okay with the master fee schedule as this, and then kind of the process that I just mentioned? And again, we do it typically once a year, but you could do it anytime, right? You could do it in fall, you could do it, and if there was a fee change that you really were looking for, we could do it at another point in time. But again, it would be just, we'd change the document, show the red line, explain in the staff report what was changing, and then go forward.
I think this is a grand idea, the master fee schedule. Makes complete sense, easier for staff, easier. Everybody has to call Jen, and that's really fine with that.
I went to Google and typed in master fee schedule, because I was trying to find, for some reason, I wasn't recognizing what was being asked in it. I was trying to find our old one, we don't have one, but I found a half dozen other cities that do this. They're standard, I was kind of surprised that we didn't have it. Just, I really like the transparency this provides, so it's literally a way to 10-page document and it has every fee that you could possibly think of having to pay to the city.
And as we go through, we making code changes, we'd like to also get the fees kind of out of the code and you get them into this document where it's far more easier to change up or down, however you wish to do that, so.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so
So
everybody's
by
kind of okay with it?
consensus, we're okay?
Everybody's good?
Yep, good. Okay,
Thank you. Great.
keep up the good work. Okay, next we have the Tolovana Hall lease discussion. Bruce?
Thank you. Counselor Kerr requested a discussion regarding the use of the Tolovana Hall. Tolovana Hall is leased by the Tolovana Arts Colony. The lease has specific language regarding the use of the premises as a public building, private events are not allowed. The current lease expires December 31st, 2025. And Andrew Conley is here.
Lisa,
What you would have said.
he said Andrew was
You
here.
want me to?
Sure, why not?
I can bring some context as to why I'm here. This has been. Unless you want to do it.
No, go ahead.
I think Lisa brought this to discussion because, some folks want to have residents' 85th birthday party.
It was the Cannon Beach
Well-
Garden Club who wanted to.
Oh, I'm gonna give the context, the whole.
Yeah, let's let him speak and then you can rip it apart. Sorry, just.
So residents wanted to have a birthday party. I informed them that private events are not currently allowed under, under my understanding of our lease. And they approached the city. They were upset about that. And I should just add that it gives me no pleasure to have to tell people, we had a moment of silence at the beginning of this meeting for 2 residents who have passed, and I know one of those families has reached out, maybe both of them, to do memorials, and I'm unclear. I think Tolovana Hall would be a great community use to offer a memorial. So I don't know what, we need to.
Well, I just want to.
No, wait a sec, are you finished with your?
Well, I think I know what you're going to say about the garden club, but it raises it puts me in a difficult position because if the garden club, which has historic purchase on use of Tolovana Hall, has a citizen's birthday party there, and other people see that, they're going to come to me and they're going to be like, well, why can't we have a birthday party there? Puts me and the arts colony in an ugly place.
Okay.
And I would like I would like to allow these things,
First of all, the original lease that gave Tolovana Hall to the city had a stipulation in it that the garden club could use it. It says once a month, but that doesn't say limited to once a month. They can use it once a month for a meeting, doesn't say they're limited to that. So this has historically been a garden used by the garden club. I'm sorry that whoever approached you should never have said, it was a garden club event. It was always supposed to be.
Well.
So the birthday party
The
was
birthday
for
party is our
a garden.
oldest member of the garden club.
Okay, just want to make sure I
And we wanted
understood.
to have a birthday party.
That
as
person
a
happens to
garden
be a
club
member,
event.
and that feels exclusionary to the rest of the community in a way. In my view.
But
Anybody in the community is very welcome to join the garden club. We'd love to have more members. In other words, this
So
is.
You have to be a member of the garden club to join the birthday party?
You don't, no.
So it's a public event, then?
Well, it
Not-
is,
not a private
because,
event.
because you don't, there's nothing in the invitation. In fact, it was on Facebook, the invitation, come to the celebration of our oldest member of the garden club. And it's been open, anybody can come. In other words, if her son wants to show up, he's not a member of the garden club, he can come, of course. So, I just, and the fact that it was presented originally as just as a birthday party, I couldn't believe that was the original way it was asked. It shouldn't have been asked that way. Should have said the garden club would like to use it on the 31st
Well,
of May.
you wanted to have this on the agenda, so what is it that, you know, I've said that I would like to be able to have some clarity about, you know, can we do memorials there? What are we going to do about this larger question of birthday parties and, you know, excluding some members of the community, or at least that's how they're going to feel.
It seems like right now you can do them if they're for community groups or clubs.
But a memorial is not a community group or a club.
If a club had a memorial event, if a club had a birthday party, I think that seems to be a distinction there between a private event and that.
I don't think most people belong to clubs that, you know, that's just a bit, how many members of the garden club are there?
Well, I think.
20, 30? Like, it's
I
just-
think there's 30 or 35 now. More and more people have joined. First of all, it's fun to come.
I'm not disputing.
And second of all, the dues are $10 a year. So that, you know, doesn't exclude anybody. And so, and you don't have to, you have no obligation. If you're a member. So I just.
I'm just trying to look at this through a little wider lens than the garden.
So a community group is a group of people that live in the same geographical area that have something in common. And if, heaven forbid, Uncle Fred passes away, I would think that would be a community group coming together. That's how I would see that. And I'm sure that, I don't know, I knew Uncle Fred from walking our dogs in the morning on the beach. Didn't know anybody in his family. They probably wouldn't turn me away if I showed up. Therefore, still, because then I am part of Uncle Fred's community. That's how I would look.
Is community group too vague? It sounds too vague the way you're.
What I thought of it, and I agree, I like that interpretation of it. I had thought community group really meant community organization, I guess. I thought that meant nonprofits. I thought that meant, you know, more formal,
No, if you have a bridge club, they wouldn't be a nonprofit. If you had a group of people got together to play bridge.
It's organized around a certain core concept, whereas, so.
Well, it already says clubs. It's more the vague term as community groups. I'm not sure.
But
I agree with you.
Private events creates a vagueness in terms of whether or not you're invited. Is it private, or if you're explicitly excluded from it? So trying to look at it broader than like a birthday party that's, you know, is it a private event? Or is it a community event?
Well,
That's.
Mary's group is a community group.
Yeah.
So therefore, the event is, if the group is a community group that anyone in the community can join, then it's, the birthday party is a community, it's not a private event. I think by private events, we're talking about people who don't live in the community, aren't part of a group, aren't part of a community club, who want to use it for the, you know, a wedding anniversary. So somebody comes down and, oh, I'd love to have a wedding anniversary in Cannon Beach. And they don't live here and they don't participate in any kind of group activities here, but they want to use that facility for an anniversary. That's the distinction I make between a community group or club and private event.
You know, let me backtrack just to kind of how I've come to think about this. Whatever it was 2 years ago, came before council trying to amend the lease to allow certain types of private events. We didn't end up doing that because of equal access, because it's a government building. We didn't want to have to say yes to everything. But the reason the original impetus of coming before the group at that time was for a mom who lived down the street, who wanted to have a birthday party. And it was conveyed to me at that time from the council that under the current lease, that was not acceptable.
Right.
So that's where I've been, that's how I've been interpreting it since we've had this.
But that's a different thing. What you're talking about is, what you're talking about, a birthday party is not any part of a community club or community group.
But
It's
it-
a private,
The
But it
person's
wasn't-
birthday was.
They lived in the town, they lived in the
They lived
town.
in town, they were employed the school. Is that correct? Yeah. My
No.
understanding.
No, it was a neighbor.
Oh, it's a neighbor.
She was a teacher at the arts club,
Yeah,
at the what?
at the arts club, the kids club.
so she's,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, that's,
Simply Cambridge.
and I don't see how that's different than the garden club situation. It seems very analogous.
It doesn't to me, because the garden club lease specifically says in it that the garden club can use it. The original lease, it's an old lease, and it was the
Deed.
original lease that deeded, it's the original deed, that deeded that building to the city, and the stipulation in there is that the garden club can use it once a month. So if you want the garden club to have their meeting on the 31st that month instead, I mean, that's ridiculous, but, I mean, we could do that, but I don't think, it doesn't say anything in the lease that they're limited to once a month. So if you wanna get all sticky about
I'm
it,
not I'm looking for clarity on.
So Lisa, let's say 2 years ago that mother joined the garden club, then would she be able to have the birthday party for her daughter?
no, daughter isn't a member of the garden club.
Okay, if the daughter joined the garden club, you take all ages.
Yeah,
Okay.
she'd never ever come to a meeting because it's during her school hours, but.
So they can skip.
That's kind
That
of
seems
silly.
like an inelegant workaround, about $10 dues to be able to use, have your
Okay.
event at, that doesn't seem
I
the
don't care if
right
it's
answer.
$5, $10, or $20. It's in the original deed.
So doesn't that seem like a perverse way that somebody could circumvent?
So I'm thinking it's time to revise the lease to
Not revise the
allow, not the deed, the lease between the city and Telvana Arts Colony to make it more available for people, for community members.
I love that. And it is, as Bruce noted, it's up at the end of the year, so it is time to start talking about renewal. But I would love that, and then that would give us the kind of, we could bake in the clarity that we need.
And so then memorial
Would have,
celebrations of life for people that lived here.
what's a community member? You've got to figure that out.
Well,
Because
that's-
is a community member someone with a second home? Is it only someone who's a resident or a voter here? What exactly is that?
That's where I would involve the lawyer.
Yeah.
The one question that I do get frequently is, and it's something that I don't see as a good use, is from folks that are coming in, having a family reunion, they've all come for, and they're looking for a cheaper alternative than to have a catered meal, than,
Right.
but
But,
for
you know,
birthdays and
the city pays
memorial.
for the maintenance and water and the electricity and everything in that building is paid for by the city. So it seems to me that the use of that building should be for people who live in the city.
Is there a fee schedule?
No, there's no,
But we had you had talked about that at one point or something, maybe adding, maybe that was a couple years ago when the lease was renewing. Anyway. But there could be a fee schedule. There could be a fee schedule for some more of these private events that are community
There-
members. So if my
There isn't
grandpa,
gonna
if my
be any
grandpa died and all of my
There's not gonna
family
be
was coming here, I should, if I came as a community member and leased that space, even though my grandpa didn't live here, I should still be able to have a celebration of life there. That's what but I think I'm going a little too deep into that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty, that's pretty iffy to me, because it just because you live in, this is a
because you live in
community
town.
event, so.
I can tell you when people reach out for something like a memorial or like a birthday party and find out they can't, and they say, this is a community, by and large, they don't greet me with a lot of understanding, so.
Me.
And I think the consensus among people like that, they'd like to, and my goal has always been to see that building used as much as it can be within reason for good uses. And this is feels like a natural.
And I think well, yeah. The fee schedule is a whole different issue. If there was a fee schedule, who would the money go to? Would it go to the city because the city's providing all of the electricity, the water, the janitorial services, the landscaping? Huh? Yeah, maintenance. So, you know, that it would seem to me that if there was gonna be a fee schedule, it would have to go, the money should go to the city, but maybe if the city was using it as a community gathering place, then maybe the only fees that would be incurred would maybe be if there was a
I mean, it will,
cleaning fee or something.
I mean, it will also take my time to bring people through the proper way to use the place, you know, let them in, make sure to clean up, you know, take them through, schedule it, all that stuff. So there's nothing on our end either. But we're in a good place right now and can cover that.
Did you?
And happy to cover that.
Did you make a recommendation the last time we looked at it?
We left it, the last time we looked at it, we were waiting to hear back from lawyers about the old public building question. Do we have to let anyone, even the National Socialist Party, if they want to rent it? And we never got an answer. And without, at the
So
time.
if they're local, yes. If they're community members, yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So
that's true.
that is the can of worms we're opening here, but,
Well, that would be, I think those, like, you know, if a community group, again, like a, you know.
sounds like we need to define community group.
Exactly.
And still have it not violate First Amendment
Right.
rights.
Open to membership.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's my point, is
Yeah.
if someone's local and they happen to belong to.
Mhm.
Over and above that, that's something we are gonna have to work out. I wanna go back to the garden club issue in particular. And that is a separate, because in this original deed, the garden club is
I
called
mean,
out.
I don't have any,
No, I'm not saying that you're arguing with me or anything. I don't think you are. I'm just saying that this is the garden club, because it's called out in the original deed, for whatever reason. I wasn't around here when, this was what, 1987 was when this deed was drawn up. Yes, and they said, specifically called out the garden club. And the reason they did it, I think, is because there was 50 years, yes, 50 years of being in there, and they decided they didn't want to take any chances on excluding.
you know, this month, the theater is probably using the hall for rehearsals 15 to 20 times. If the garden club wanted to have more members, I would have the same, or want more meetings, I'd have the same take on it, deed or no deed, it would be an open door.
Well, it still mentions clubs, so I think the garden club is safe. I don't know how many other clubs there are, but.
So I guess we could continue this to looking at revising.
Yeah, we could talk to Ashley. I think Ashley would need some input, because we want to make sure that we're not doing any kind of equal protection exclusion.
What?
I think defining community group or,
So,
and then we need to look at fee schedules and how that money is gonna go.
For I think the request is for the 31st, what's the answer? Is that what
the 31st is the garden club umbrella thing, but there is a memorial that, if, you know, that they would like to do, and it was, you know, a person in this community who had, you know, was a part of a lot of community groups, as it were. And, you know, if I can't give them an answer, you know, we're gonna run out of time.
Can we say?
We may
yes
have,
to
we
that?
may have already.
Can we say yes to that in the interim before we meet? You know, just as a. I don't know who I'm looking at. Who am I looking at?
Just that you guys aren't gonna come back to us and say, oh, you're breaking the.
Well, I mean,
While we're at the celebration.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things, for the garden club, they're able to use it because it's a meeting, because the deed says as long as it's a meeting, they can use it, so as long as they call it a meeting, they're good for that one. For the memorial, I can email Ashley and ask her the question, but if she says no, the answer would have to be no until the lease is changed.
What if we just didn't email Ashley?
You are.
You guys don't. You guys don't.
Is it a meeting of a community group?
You know, here's another thing.
Group, they can use it for the
Can
kids.
can you ask,
I mean,
Ashley, can you ask her if we're allowed to somehow, can we make actual delineate uses? In other words, say, for a memorial for a community member, for a birthday party for a member of a group. Can we do that? Can we enumerate the different ways we could, and not.
I would like the term to be community member for a birthday, because again, it'll be one of those things where somebody who's not part of the group is going to be able to.
Okay, a community member.
And that can be loosely defined.
And what, and then define what a community member is.
Could say community member celebration and not have to list
There you go.
birthdays.
Yeah, that would be good, a community member celebration.
Yeah, because I don't think you should have to be dead to be able to have a celebration like there.
Well, and you know, one thing when we talk about a fee schedule, I would push for it being low to zero, because when there was a folk that wanted to have the memorial, and I was like, I don't think we can do that, and I suggested this building. They came back to me and said, it's too expensive, you have to have insurance, et cetera, and it was onerous. And, you know, I think, you know, especially memorial is,
Well, we don't have to make sure that the insurance that you currently have on the building would extend to other uses too.
yeah, I don't see what.
We don't know if it does at this point. And where the fee would go, if there'd be a fee, you know, or a deposit, and if people didn't clean up properly, then they lose their deposit. I mean, that's another way to do it, instead of doing a fee,
Yeah, that's for.
to use it, make them put down a healthy deposit, and then they have they have to leave the building as they found it.
I like that.
Or better.
Yeah, like fix the electricity.
So a couple things, I'll go ahead and email Ashley about the memorial and say, if a group of community people came together, could they do this? As far as coming back to you guys, the June work session is getting a little full. Can we put this on the July work session and have Ashley weigh in on things? Because there is information that we pulled together back when we were dealing with this with the elementary school, so we can pull that information out of the registry.
Okay.
That works.
I don't know why we need to ask her, honestly. It says available to all as well as meetings of community groups.
Yeah.
But it might be nice if she could offer some clarity for the future and that would better define community.
It was, I mean, like, you know, just when it comes time to renew, which we put that together. If that language could be, you know, tightened up would be great.
Yeah, I mean, the school uses the building, but it is empty a lot of the time. And it's just, you know.
Well, you should see the calendar this month. May is a really.
So do you like ask Ashley the question, or do we just call it a community group?
I don't, it doesn't sound, it sounds like it's allowed under the terms of the current lease. If it's a community group, it sounds like it's your discretion right now until we get it clarified.
Well, do you go to your board for approval of events, or are you in charge of
Or
scheduling?
something, well, now I can't do events, so
I mean,
but for scheduling, like if the coaster ride.
Right.
No, I just put them.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you have control
I
of
am,
the schedule,
yeah, I do.
okay.
So then we're just gonna work on changing or defining the language for the July work session,
For December
for the
renewal.
December renewal. Okay.
To get clearer, I think specifically about community groups, but
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in the meantime, we're saying no about the memorial.
I think
No,
it's a community.
What's the consensus on that?
we're saying,
I thought the consensus was that we're leaving this to the discretion of the executive director there of what constitutes a community group.
as long as it's a community group,
And we already know that you're that you're very scared to make any, rash decisions about who's in that space. I don't think you're gonna do anything you're not gonna let somebody have a 21st birthday.
But then
That'll be pretty lame.
we're gonna work to a better lease agreement.
Right,
in
and
the
we do
future.
have to have that deposit in there so that if someone doesn't leave it, you know, all messed up and then who's responsible? The city would end up being the janitorial.
I mean, I think we would be responsible for cleaning up.
Whoever it is.
That's all I would be.
That's the
It would be,
janitorial,
it would be me getting that spot on.
So why don't you meantime have a discussion with your board about, fee schedules and whether they're necessary and how you would handle issues.
Okay.
Come back with a proposal.
Yeah,
But I strongly.
in
lean
July
toward-
when we
I
have it
think-
on the agenda.
And I would strongly lean towards any fees that are paid would go into the city, not to total Benhurst County. Because you're already paid for your job, so. You know, so that would be, you know.
But we'll discuss that in July when we review them.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
okay, so what time is the party? Thank you, Andrew. Okay, next we have the Cannon Beach Elementary School rejuvenation survey. Renovation.
Then, I said in my memo, we hope that Mr. Horvick on the phone for the May 13th meeting. We weren't able to make that arrangement. I don't know if the council wants to move forward with discussion, just the information that's available on his letter, or do we want to push this to the Jimmy or agent?
So what you're saying is we either you talk about it today without him or wait till he's here.
Yes.
Yeah, there's only so far we can talk about it without him. I think would be good to have someone to talk to that can give us an idea of how this process would work without us feeling obligated that they're the one that we're using. But it feels to me like whatever we would do for this survey is going to be complex with lots of options and funding options and I would like to talk to somebody and see what exactly that looks like. I think I said.
I think it would be more beneficial since he can't be here to talk with the person who's putting forth this proposal.
Right.
As opposed to just having a conversation amongst their friends.
Right.
Something we're.
Because
I mean, the conversation we can have is, do we want to do a survey?
But it's gonna, yeah, it's not gonna be, it's gonna be a very, it needs to ask lots of questions, like, you know, if somebody wants to do something in that. At the school, it has to, the question of how it's gonna be funded is part of that. And so I think we need to talk to an expert. On
Yeah,
creating
I
surveys.
just know that this place in particular did a quality of life poll for Multnomah, Clackamas and Washington County. Out of 1.8 million people, they polled 500. That's 0.0003%. So I think we already have a survey. I understand the funding question, but I think we already have a survey that we probably paid a great deal of money for. I have asked for that information. That gives us a lot of the information that we already have. So I think that if we can compile all of that, and maybe it already is compiled, and get that number to see what we've spent. I just think that that's, you know, a lot of. I mean, 500 people out of 1.8 million doesn't really give you an answer. So then basically we're back to square one. Because somebody's not gonna be happy inevitably. I'm not saying a survey is a bad idea. I'm just saying, I think we need a little more information on what we had previously and what we think we need to supplement that information, opposed to starting all over.
Do you, so you don't think we should even have a person present for?
I think that we can, I mean, absolutely hear what the gentleman has to say. Andrew has a.
I see him.
We did the last survey, I forget the number, you can find it on the city website. The response was like 40% or something, it was a significant.
Right.
return.
Yeah.
Maybe our population is just more interested.
And are the results of the survey there?
Yep.
Um,
Just a Canby citizen survey.
Okay, perfect. I will do that. Thank you. So I think it's important that we hear it, but looking at that other survey and then figuring out what we actually need from an additional survey. Opposed to starting all over. I think we'll just be spinning our wheels.
And should we have this person take a look at that survey?
I think so.
But have they looked at the previous survey?
No.
Okay.
And who put that survey together?
Yeah. I think I don't know if it was. Well, actually, no, they did a survey and they also did the, Google.
The outreach events.
I think the problem with the previous survey is it became the facility that was going to be all things to all people. And there was nothing realistic in it about funding or different funding sources. And I think that needs to be part of any ongoing conversation.
Yep.
Well, I think that the funding sources, but if you're gonna give a survey that funnels people down to what you want it to be, or, you know, what the council thinks that the constituents want it to be. Then you're blindly leading the cattle. And, I really think that we need to look at that last survey and actually have it looked at and see how it truly came out. I mean, some of the little stuff, like you said, you know, Susie wants blue carpet. She's the only one that is included in the survey. Or in the results, but I'll go look at that.
Well, it might be, you know, maybe everyone would love to have a community center and a rec center. And when they realize that it raises their property taxes or
Why are we talking about property taxes?
or it has to be taken out of the general fund, then I think
You
that-
raised the TLT 1.5%. This city has plenty of money to fund something there that's reasonable.
As long as it has a tourist use, yes, that it's primarily a tourist use.
Sure, and there is, and I think that can be vetted. I think that a great portion of that could be vetted as TLT funds.
So let's get back to what we're discussing, and that's survey, and whether we want to table this until we can have the person from the company.
yes.
Yes.
Represent, but before they come to the meeting, have them take a look at the previous survey.
That'd be great.
That would be wonderful.
So,
Thank you, Laura.
are we okay with July?
Yeah, July is in,
Yes.
yeah, so in July, we've got the TAC grant review, chamber quarterly meeting, TAC public art policy review, and the Tolvena Arts Foundation's discussion. So I've got probably classes actually.
We have one meeting in July?
I have two.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just the work session.
Yeah.
Because normally we would work session. It's the July 1st meeting, we just have National Night Out and Community Grant Vote, but we can also check with him and see which one of the two work best. So we could put it as a work session item on the first meeting.
Okay.
Was that the meeting that Gary was gonna be gone for the first one in July, or was it the first one in August?
It's odd,
Oh, I'm sorry.
because I don't know.
And I think I'm here
Yeah.
actually too, but
So the July meetings would all be.
yes,
present, as far as
July,
we know.
July's good.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna do that. You okay with that? Okay, then we have monthly status report. Anybody have any questions on that? What do you got?
Oh, the bird.
Oh, the bird. I thought, what did I didn't say anything funny.
Eagles.
I'm waiting for the elk to come up and see what we're doing. Questions? Okay, no questions. So then we have, mayor and councilor communications, anything? From anyone?
Yes. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Karen mentioned it earlier, but we recently had a public works employee retired from the water department, Daniel Willard. I just wanted to say, I didn't see anything on the city's Facebook page or anything congratulating or thanking her.
Well, I didn't know he retired.
But he retired May 1st, I guess. And I just wanted to say a couple of things. I had a good long conversation with him about like what he thought his various contributions and stuff like that were. I want to say a bunch of words of thanks for his years of service with the Public Works Department. His knowledge of our system, attitude, and professionalism will be missed. The water department is going to definitely be different without Daniel there. I hope that he can finally sit back, relax, and enjoy some free time in retirement. He says he started working with the city back in '81, so he's been here a while. He's worked in the city longer than I've been alive. So yes, I don't know. Probably not my story to share, but he said when he first started, there was a few gentlemen there that said they'd been working there 8 years, and he was shocked. He's like, "How could somebody stay somewhere for 8 years in one job?" And so it's just interesting that he stayed with the city of Canyon Beach for that long. And the other notable thing, there was tons of great stories. I talked to him for quite a long time. He's fantastic man. He said that he thinks he physically has been part of the install of at least half of the fire hydrants with his hands on the 6-inch distribution going to him. So that's pretty remarkable. I just wanted to say thanks to Daniel for his years of service and really appreciate it. He'll definitely be missed.
Thank you. Next.
Oh, okay. So I got a letter from a person named Jeremy Lucas who works for a group called Oceana that is a nonprofit on the West Coast, and he wanted me to reach out to the city council. He has an ask. And he's the Pacific Northwest field representative for Oceana, and he helps to organize communities, groups, coalitions, and local governments to protect our ocean. And he said, as you may have heard, the U.S. Department of the Interior has announced the start of the process to develop a new 5-year plan for offshore oil and gas lease sales on the U.S. continental shelf. And Oregon is now included in the planning area. We used to not be, we were excluded, but now that's changing and we're going to be included. Should an oil spill happen off the Oregon coast, it would have devastating consequences to local communities that rely on healthy oceans for tourism, recreation, and fisheries. Marine birds like the tufted puffin, an important symbol of Cannon Beach, are vulnerable to spills as they rely on healthy coasts for food and habitat. The Department of Interior is taking comments for their offshore lease sales plan. So then I ended up getting this huge long thing. I mean, from the it's BOEM is the acronym, but it's the Ocean Energy Management Bureau, and it is all about how they are going to look at offshore drilling off the coast of Oregon, California, and Washington. And the request from the comment period, the reason I'm bringing it up today in this manner is because the comment period ends on June 16th. And they would like, and what they've provided for me is a resolution opposing new offshore oil and gas leasing that they would like city councils to pass or sign on to, and they sent a template if you didn't want to write your own, and it's pretty straightforward. It just says we rely on clean water and ocean systems, and we rely heavily on tourism in this community, and that one, you know, the devastation that would happen if there was to be an oil spill due to this gas. Never mind the fact that we have an active volcano off the coast of Oregon, that's another issue, but anyway, so they're developing this leasing program, and we would be asking them if we were to sign on to some kind of resolution or letter that they, you know, consider not allowing it off the coast of our area of Oregon. So I wanted to know what the council would like to do with this.
Well, I think if we're going to support it, it should be a letter of support rather than a resolution.
Okay, so what they did.
If we are going to support it.
So what are people's feelings about it? What they're seeking actually is letters of support either from city councils or resolutions from city councils or other government groups. They also are seeking letters of support from environmental agencies, but that's bigger agencies, not like, it wouldn't be Friends of Haystack Rock. Friends of Haystack Rock would sign on to a letter by a much larger group, you know, so that is a whole different thing. This is, there's specifically, he reached out and asked me if the city council would be interested or would be willing to sign off on some kind of a letter. Saying that we were concerned that this would have possibly very serious negative effects on our community.
So a letter of
I can-
opposition to
Offshore
the
drilling,
sale of oil.
Yeah. leases off the Oregon coast for offshore drilling. I mean, there's a huge amount of information here that I can forward to any, you know, I can't forward it to the,
You can give it to me.
I can give it to you and you can
Yeah,
forward it to the council. So this is a really long thing about, you know, put out by, the request for information and comments on the preparation of the 11th National Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program. So this is put out in the Federal Register. So this is one piece of reading material. It's scintillating, I can tell you. And then the second piece is the letter from this young man at Oceana. And then the other piece is this template he sends for a resolution, but it could be easily changed into a letter if people are more comfortable with the letter. So my concern is that if they're due by June 16th. So if council, if we get all this information to the council, and if I take this resolution and make it into a letter and that gets sent as well, and then it's up to you guys. Our meeting is before the 16th, so we can decide at the next meeting whether we want to send this or not.
Yeah, and the June 3rd meeting, Barb will not be here, but we do have a June 12th meeting. Or if you guys wanted to do the letter, you could do it by consensus and we can send the letter without going to the next meeting.
Do people want to look at the research first, or?
I'd like to kind of.
I need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
And by, could I express my opinion on it without being at the meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
so we can always
so-
do it on the 12th, also.
Let's put it on the June 3rd.
The June 3rd, okay.
So I'll pull all this stuff to you.
Yep, and I'll send
And
it out.
then, and I think, yeah, okay, and then the drafting, changing this into a letter is not gonna take more than a half an hour. So yeah, I'm not concerned about that. If the council decides they want a letter, we can do it.
Let's, we can work together and we can actually have drafted a packet, so that there's actually.
Oh, that'd be great. I want to see if you're interested. And I suggest to people do their own research too. I mean, there's a whole lot more than this.
Right.
That's out there on this issue. So if you just, you know, look up oil and gas leasing off the Oregon coast, that would work. Great, too.
Thank you.
In addition to this, yeah.
Anything else?
Were we in good of the order yet?
Yeah,
Oh, no, that was communications.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were in good of the order. Which
It sounded more
okay.
like good of the order, but
Yeah. Okay, so now are we ready to go on to good of the order?
I am.
Okay. Do you have anything, Deanne? Good of the order?
Haven't decided yet. I'm gonna speak on it.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I'm not sure.
You guys, come on, let's
Well,
be a little more
no,
definitive.
I mean, because there was, you know, during, the comments from the public comments, there was a long comment delivered that I felt had really mischaracterized things that had taken place. And it really concerned me because, you know, that's what's on the record now, and there's nothing to refute it. And I'm not sure if that's how things should stand. You just get to say whatever you want, and no one gets to refute what you've said. Or if they have further information, they don't get to put it on the public record. And it just stands as it is, because that bothers me.
But you do understand why during public comment, we can't have.
Oh, I
back and forth,
understand that.
We would never get past public comment. We'd
No,
never have
I
another
do.
meeting.
But there was a couple of things said that were just, I mean, I was, you know,
So would you, in good of the order, like to state?
if that's appropriate, I would, yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
No, I thought that was a good place.
Yeah, I thought that's how we're gonna handle public comment. Okay,
Okay, well,
give it to us quickly.
okay, the first thing is that there was, a statement by Miss, is you Strouf, is that how you say it? Strouf, that, her boss was she said her boss was contacted about, and she was told that she had to stop talking and couldn't express her opinion. And that she was being stifled from expressing her opinion, and that actually is not what happened. What happened is that, several citizens were concerned because in the door-to-door campaign for the pro 235 amendment, there was also that Ms. Strouf also, was disseminating information for the Clatsop County Democratic Party. And people actually thought that the Clatsop County Democratic Party was supporting 235 due to the way it was presented to them. So she was doing both things in her door-to-door. And the Clatsop County Dems haven't supported anything to do with any of that. They're not taking a position one way or the other. But that was the impression that was given. And that's why somebody called the chairman of the Clatsop County Dems as a local citizen. It wasn't me, but I would have. And said that this is, you know, inappropriate, to do that that's not the appropriate way to give out information. So that is what happened.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
And then the other thing is that she said I called my fellow council members saboteurs, and I did not. I said I was concerned about my position being sabotaged by the pro 235 group and saying, oh, well, look at this, you know, this Councilor Kerr doesn't agree with it, so why should we? That's what I was worried about. I was not calling anybody a saboteur. I would not accuse somebody of being a saboteur unless they actually did something that was sabotage. So I really don't appreciate mischaracterizations of my position or what I've said. And that's all. I just want to set the record straight.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Next.
Now, there were a couple of other things in that, some claims that I've never heard of that people were talking about, $5,000, things, 235, applying to things of $5,000, so
I thought you said 5 million.
no,
Okay.
I don't know what you mean.
Okay.
But
but,
Okay.
it just said,
but there was some, you know, I got called out too. But some of those things were, nobody specifically called out, but, these things that she says are happening out there, which I have not heard of, but.
yeah, well, I mean, it's fine, it's just, I think that it is, if you're going to make a public statement and state things as if they're facts, that you have to be prepared that, you know, somebody might refute those facts.
Okay.
It just, you know, so.
Well, I wrote a lot of things about it and I always try to be as factual as possible. And I did have an interaction with her and she well, she accused me of lying. But, I thought I could have phrased things better and I edited them. And I'm sure that doesn't satisfy her, but, anyway, that's,
Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
I'm used to it at this point.
I'm sure you are.
So, yeah, did everybody look at the letter from, the city administrator from the city of North Bend?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Who, you know, their, water and wastewater systems are threatened now because of, a voter initiative that, amended their charter. And, basically saying that their sanitary sewer fund is projected to become insolvent within 4 years. And right now operating without sufficient reserves, you know, without, a vote, they wouldn't be able to solve those problems. And there is a Senate Bill 1062A now that is a narrowly focused bill on 3 communities on the South Coast, North Bend, Reedsport, and Bandon. But this is obviously a broader concern and they're asking for letters of support from legislators for Senate Bill 1062A that would allow cities who are obligated by things like Clean Water Act. They've got certain responsibilities, but their hands are tied because of these voter initiative things. So personally, I would, they're asking for letters from city councils and from city managers. So I would support that.
What kind of a deadline are they now?
You know, no,
okay.
What's that?
I don't see it in there.
I don't see it in the letter, but there was several other documents that I read, but I don't recall exactly.
Senate bill, there's gotta be.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Is it currently on the floor? Or is it, the next slide?
It's in this.
So it's gotta be soon because session lets out like the 21st of June.
The initiative has already passed Senate 25-4. And is currently assigned to House Committee on Emergency Management, General Government, and Veterans with a work session scheduled for 1 p.m. this coming Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's very.
oh, that's okay. Karen's going to be presenting there.
You get to testify, for our backbone project. They want to hear for consideration of funding.
Well, it's a work session, so I'm not sure what kind of process that.
You
2
could,
minutes.
Yeah, that's testimony.
yeah,
They go fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we can submit a letter of
Yeah.
support.
I uploaded my information that I'll be speaking to on Friday. They did one last Friday and they didn't even get halfway through the people. And they may not get through everybody this Friday, but I'll get a chance to testify again. There were about 23 municipalities there that were out of compliance with their wastewater permits. And needed funding because they either had housing developments that were going in that they couldn't provide infrastructure to, or they needed to make wastewater improvements because they were out of compliance. There were 2 cities that presented that, had Business Oregon loans that they were defaulted and could not pay their loans back. There were drinking water infrastructure issues that they were out of compliance with the permits. I'm thankful for where we are and what we've done with our infrastructure.
Well, I don't know if there's time to do anything in that case, but,
Yeah, I think that the deadline was actually today. So we may be too late to submit, you can double check me on that, but they sent me notification about the session on Friday. And I think it mentioned in there that, that you couldn't submit.
okay,
So if we're past the deadline.
if there's,
I double checked that. but I
if
think
it's
that's what-
something that's continuing to be discussion, we can talk about it again.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. Eric, you have anything for good order?
No, I guess my thoughts that are gonna be.
That's okay. I thought so too. Yeah,
I do, and I've really been, I've been trying to decide if I'm going to, read my thoughts. I've been very concerned with, the things that I'm hearing now, things that I'm reading, people that are coming to me, concerned, not just Claire's and Wally's, and they're important people in this community, we all are, but I've really been trying to kind of take a backseat to this. And, so I'm just going to read this and this applies to me as well. And I'm hoping that we can all agree. These are my personal reflections shared with sincerity and deep care for our community. I believe open dialogue, thoughtful disagreement, and collaborative approach to the decisions that we face. As elected leaders, we have a responsibility not only to represent the interests of our constituents, but also to model the values and standards that build trust in local government. Healthy debate is essential to a functioning council, and it is expected that we hold differing views on important issues. However, the tone and conduct with which we express those differences must reflect the respect we owe each other and the public we serve. Recent comments have raised concerns, and I'd like to address those through the following points. Whereas everyone is entitled to their opinion, it is equally important to remember how we express those opinions matters, especially in positions of leadership. Civic dialogue depends on mutual respect. Disagreement is both natural and necessary in public service, but it must be expressed in ways that foster collaboration and not deepen division. Recent commentary and emails have included language and comparisons that do not reflect the professional standards we as counselors committed to uphold. For example, dismissive comparisons or statements that reduce others' viewpoints to partisan labels do a disservice to thoughtful, inclusive public discourse. This tone is counterproductive. It distracts from the real issues, shifts focus away from solutions and policy outcomes. It is absolutely appropriate to question direction, raise concerns, and represent differing perspectives. but this must be done respectfully and without personal attacks. Undermining the legitimacy of fellow councilors or residents with different views erodes public trust and damages the credibility of our process. Disparaging constituent input as coming only from a circle of friends is dismissive of the broader public we serve. Our duty is to listen with openness, not with judgment. Important issues like public facilities, environmental protection, and workforce housing should not be treated as competing concerns. They are all part of a balanced civic agenda. Fear-mongering, using exaggerated or emotionally charged statements to provoke anxiety or outrage, harms public understanding and poisons community dialogue. It inflames rather than informs. Often those who speak the loudest or most frequently are not the most representative, and at times their volume masks a pattern of disrespect, manipulation, or hostility. Our job is to build consistent consensus, invite diverse input, and pursue solutions, not to create division or assign moral hierarchy to community priorities. Leadership means modeling the behavior we want to see from our community, thoughtful, respectful, and focused on results. In summary, disagreement is healthy, but how we engage in that disagreement determines whether we move forward together or fragment apart. We each have a duty to honor the values of respect, responsibility, and collaboration that define our roles. The future of our community depends on how we lead together. Thank you.
Thank you.
For letting me read that.
Thanks. Okay,
I'd like to say something in response to that. I just want to say that anything that I have said or written regarding issues that are important to the city, I absolutely stand by. I do not make any apologies for anything I said. I don't think I've said anything disrespectful, and I don't think I've said anything that I don't believe to be true.
No. Anyone else? I have a couple items for good of the order. First, we have trail cleaning on Saturday from 10 to 12. The sun will be out. And then I would like to thank the chamber for allowing us to use this facility for our meetings for a short period of time. And I'd like to give a big special thanks to our city staff for handling their transition to clean buildings where they can breathe, and doing it with professionalism, a little bit of fun, and lots of long, hard hours. We appreciate that. So make sure that you thank your employees and your officers. And if you haven't been down to the new facilities, they'd love to give tours. Because so anything else from anyone?